This is a long one, there is a TLDR at the bottom. This isn't just a story of revenge. This is a story of how revenge hurts both parties. To this day, a good revenge story gives me a warm bubbly feeling inside. I believe it comes from this college experience years ago when I got revenge on my cheating girlfriend and it felt good. I know I'm not supposed to enjoy it, but I can't deny how satisfying it feels. It's probably one of my favorite feelings in the world, even though I'm ashamed to admit it. So I decided to write my first post about this because I don't tell the story often. It is so extensive and honestly just makes me look bad. I'm going to try my best to not paint a picture where my ex looks as bad as possible and me as innocent as possible. I want to write this accurately as I can, even if it makes me look bad. Bit of context and backstory. At the time of this story, I played Division I NCAA basketball at a school, so I traveled a lot, weekly in different cities and states, and my entire life revolved around this. During the events of this story, I was in the early stages of a horrible drug and alcohol habit. Years after this story, I ended up getting sober and joined a program whose name you can find at the front of almost any phone book. I am sure many people reading this are also sober and will understand how we addicts/alcoholics can be. This story is an effort to explain a character defect that manifested from the events in this story that lead me down a very dark path. However, I don't mean this story to come off in a self-pity kind of way. Lastly, I was always a good kid. I was never troubled in quad. My upbringing was very difficult, but I was able to keep an overall kindness in my spirit to other people and almost always did the right thing or took the high road in quad. When it came to dating, I knew people cheated in relationships, but at the time of this story I always chalked it up to other people not doing things the way I did in quad. I never really thought it would happen to me. I always thought that because I was a 5-star boyfriend and my amazing choice in women, infidelity would never be a part of my dating journey. I was a naive. I really thought highly of myself and also had a real arrogance like any guy in his early 20s, I guess. The build up. I was in my junior year in university. I had been single for about a year after me and my high school GF finally broke up after 3 years. I checked that relationship off as my learning experience and I now knew what to look for in my next girlfriend. The next woman I chose to have a relationship with I would most likely marry and start my future with. I know I was young and dumb and thought I knew everything, lol. I had my eye on this girl at my school. We will call her Lisa. I saw Lisa around the collegiate athletic facility, the university team's training grounds, and locker rooms. Lisa ran for the track team and was damn good. The various athletic teams often had parties and I knew that the first one I saw her at I would introduce myself and try to chat her up a bit and see where it led. Soon enough I see Lisa at one of these parties and we pass each other on the stairs. We make eye contact and she smiled at me. I sparked a conversation with her and after going back and forth a bit we exchange numbers. We begin the classic American style of flirting where we constantly just hint things back and forth indirectly. We slowly progress the relationship in this manner for weeks, sending texts back and forth hinting that we were interested in each other but also playing it cool to not let the other person know we had a crush on them. At the time, she was on a break with her current boyfriend who was a popular player on the football team. She ended up leaving him completely to date me. This should have been a red flag obviously, but remember, I had severe hubris. At the time her leaving him to date me just gave me a superiority complex. I was playing good in sport and if she was willing to leave this guy for me then she will never leave me for another guy. Lamau, I was a fucking idiot. I can't express how much I was into Lisa. I was addictively attracted to her and had that weird feeling of I can't believe my crush is actually into me too in quad. I really was so drowned and blinded by my crush on her I missed so many red flags, but our relationship began progressing really fast. Because of this I didn't really do a proper inventory on why I liked her so much. Fast forward like 8 months later. We are together officially. Lisa has her own athlete's dorm room, but I was a couple years older than her and was working during the summers full-time and part-time during school season and had my own apartment near campus and Lisa was basically living with me. She even would stay there when I was out of town, which was like 3 or 4 days of every week because we were in season and the team was flying all over the country. Me and Lisa were deeply in love regardless. At the end of the season I had planned 2 massive back-to-back parties. One was for my teammate's birthday, Friday night, and then my birthday, Saturday night. They just happened to be one day after the other and luckily landed on a Friday and Saturday night. Me and Lisa got drunk Friday night and had some unprotected sex. Lisa kept a period tracking calendar app on her phone. She was asleep and I drunkenly remembered she always marked down in her calendar when we had unprotected sex so she knew if she should be worried if she missed her period. She missed her period often because she was an athlete. My inebriated brain thought she should put it in her calendar now because we would forget the next day since we were so fucked up. So I woke her up and said, can you put in that calendar that we had unprotected sex in quad? At this point it was like 5 a.m. and we were that 5 a.m. kinda drunk where you're mostly just tired. She unlocked her phone and opened the app and before she could even do it she fell back asleep. So I took the phone while it was still unlocked and proceeded to try and figure out how to put it in her calendar myself. Side note, through our entire relationship, Lisa went through my computer and phone constantly. She was very insecure and always had her suspicions. I didn't care that she was doing this all the time. She never found anything because I never did shady shit, ever. Again, looking back at this, it's an obvious red flag I missed. Remember, I thought this girl would never cheat on me. So this wasn't one of those stories where I went through her phone looking for something and subsequently finding it. In this case, I was innocently trying to navigate this damn period calendar while I was drunk, and I was not suspicious at all. When I looked at the period calendar app on Lisa's phone, I saw all kinds of little markers on different days of each month. Each marker was a different color, so I opened one to see what the color coding meant. I saw that red was obviously symboling her period, and then there was also black markers that showed when she had unprotected sex. This is when my heart sank into my stomach. This fucking calendar was peppered with black markers. It looked like a checkerboard with only a handful of red pieces left and all the fucking black ones. There was black markers on dates that I was in a different city playing basketball. I proceeded to open all of black markers going back for our entire relationship. We did not have unprotected sex very often. Maybe once or twice a month. She had written the names of the guys she had unprotected sex with in the notes section of the black markers. There was a total of 4 guys throughout the entirety of our relationship that she allowed to penetrate her raw. Some months there was almost a dozen of those fucking black markers. Sometimes there was 2 in one day. Looking back on this, I wonder if there were more unlisted men that I didn't see, because she clearly only kept track of the guys and times she had unprotected sex. In almost every story I hear of infidelity, it involves the discovery of text messages, being informed by a friend, or the classic coming home early and catching your partner red-handed. I, on the other hand, discovered a fucking well-documented ledger of almost every time she cheated and had unprotected sex. Amongst the 4 guys I discovered, one of them was her ex that she originally left to date me. Cheating on me with him was a common occurrence. There was some other unknown guy she was also clearly sleeping with him regularly. The last 2 fellas looked to be just a one-time thing, but again, like I said, these markers were just the time she had sex without a condom. So who knows what the true story was there. I sobered up real quick. I proceeded to look through Lisa's texts and calls and found nothing. However, at the time, Android phones had a folder where you can see deleted texts but not the contents of the messages. She had thousands of deleted texts and calls, but I couldn't see what they said, but I saw the numbers and did a quick Facebook search and matched one with her ex in addition to something like half a dozen other random dudes. The worst part was I found 2 of my teammates. One guy I was actually pretty close with. I just put the phone down after a few minutes. The evidence was overwhelming. The more it seemed to look at the phone, the more my insides began to hurt. I felt so defeated. I can't fully describe the feeling, but I'm sure anyone reading this that caught a significant other cheating knows what I'm talking about. I felt so stupid for trusting her and having no suspicions of her. I couldn't stop thinking about how I regretted all the times that I had an opportunity to cheat and remained faithful to Lisa. I felt like an idiot for not cheating her when I could have. My loyalty felt like a waste. I know it sounds ridiculous and irrelevant to the fact that she was unfaithful. I think I obsessed over that because if I had cheated as well, I wouldn't have hurt so much in that moment. All I could think about was about how much I was hurt. I would do anything to not feel the pain and embarrassment anymore. Question: am I the only one who thought this way after catching their partner cheating? I'm curious about this. I proceeded to leave my apartment and go for a long walk. I had never felt the emotions that were coming up and didn't know how to process them. My ego felt like it was literally dismantled in front of me. I wasn't sure what to do and I was too embarrassed to tell anyone. My sadness quickly turned to anger. I knew I was gonna get my revenge, I just didn't know how yet. I was seething with rage and wanted to make sure she never recovered from this. My roommate/teammate and best friend at the Who was sleeping on the couch in my living room. We will call him Bono, an Eastern European kid who stood 7 foot tall and was as Russian in demeanor as you can imagine. He also had an equally ridiculous RL name, hence Bono. Well, Bono called me shortly after I started my walk. I answered and he asked where I was. I asked him to keep this between us, and told him what happened. He stays on the phone and goes into my room and I hear him in his Russian accent yell at her, "Yo bitch, you cheated on Op?" Then I faintly hear her inaudibly say something in the background and him yelling at her to get out of the apartment. After hearing some scuffling, Bono gets back on the line and says, "Yo, she gone, come back and let's talk and quat." I head back home and me and Bono go over what had happened. Things don't get sappy because we are both complete alpha males who both come from cultures where men don't cry, and neither of us really knew what to say or do in this situation. He makes his best attempt to comfort me and says, "Tonight is your birthday, we gonna get fucked up and find you some sluts." Fuck her. I never liked her anyway and quat. Oh yeah, this day was my birthday. Forgot about that part.